Get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, bub. Keep buzzing in my ear.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopses and character bios for this issue. The Uncanny X-Men 195 from 1985. We got this wonderful cover with Wolverine here and the Power Pack kids here. And Bill Sienkiewicz pencils the cover, but Dan Green does ink it, and this is a lovely cover. So love the bit of the dry brush being employed here. So all right, the whole purpose of this issue, in my opinion, is to showcase the Power Pack, which wasn't selling very well. And Power Pack was being written by Louise Simonson, who had been an editor in X-Men. I think Chris Claremont wanted to give Louise something. So once upon a time, and so we basically get the origin of the Power Pack. They were given a gift from a dying alien explorer, Allfire Whitemane. And so they were there to use the powers to protect the world. It was a dark and stormy night starring the Uncanny X-Men. I love this thing. It just was so cool that Claremont would do this, a Stanley presentation starring the Uncanny X-Men. And so we've got our credits here of Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr., and Dan Green, with, of course, Tom Orzechowski, Glynis Oliver, Ann Nocenti, and Jim Shooter. And you can see the Power Pack sleeping with the parents, Alex, Julie, Jack, and Katie. And so Power is because their last name really is Power. And Dad, Mom, and the kids. But we're going to see something's going on here. All of a sudden, we've got thunder. Ba, boom here, which startles the kids awake. And this is Jim, and this is Margaret. And suddenly they're like, who the heck are these kids? And he's like, how did you get into our apartment? And the kids are like, what? This is not funny. Like, we're your kids. And like, we don't have kids. And the kids are going to show them. And suddenly their stuff is gone. And they just, all of a sudden, things aren't going quite the way they're supposed to be here. And so the parents here are very confused, and suddenly you can see this fog, and the kids have disappeared. And so Jim goes, call the cops, I'll go look for them. And so they're knocking on the neighbor's door, and they're like, what the heck? Who are you people? Leave me alone. And so John Romita running pose here. So they go their way outside, and they talk a little bit with Mr. Ortiz here. And they're like, we better start searching. This ain't a day to be out in the street, or a night to be out in the street. You can see the cops are looking for them. And the kids are all cold and alone. And they can see that the cops are looking for them, but they don't know what to do because, if the parents don't recognize them, something's got to be up. And then remember that if they got into their costumes, that they'll be nice and warm. And so they turn on the costumes, and here we go. And so they make a point here. If our chameleon costume exists, then so does our smart ship Friday. And so, and that would be true. If one thing works, then the other thing should work too. And so they make a point saying that they had met the Morlocks, and they go, "Hey, we have met this Morlock named Beautiful Dreamer, whose power was to change people's memories." That was in Power Packs 11 and 12 here. And so they're gonna go get the Morlocks because this one here says she was a friend with that creepy old Anna Lee who wanted us to live with her as our own kids. But Alex, both the X-Men and Callisto, uh, the Morlock's own leader says she couldn't. She was to leave us alone. Come on, Julie. Do we always do everything we're told? And so down they go visit the Morlocks to see if maybe the Morlocks are behind what's happening to them. But it turns out that the Morlocks were sort of waiting for them and grab the kids here. And here, this one uses her powers, but it's absorbed by by this guy here. And she's gonna go get away, but you can see Mask actually guess her, but she thinks you missed her. But Mask is able to deform people's faces here, and so real quick before I turn the page, these lines are such a symbol of the times here. They were continued all the way till the 2000s, but you don't see very these just random lines creating depth. You just don't see them very much these days. But here you can see her say, "Ha, you missed me," but obviously you can see Mask didn't. And we're not going to see her face for a while as she kind of runs away here. And she's going to look for a policeman here. And the noise is startling her. So a cop actually does show up here. And he says, "I'm a police officer, sweetheart. Are you hurt?" And then she uses her powers and knocks him out here. Look at the big bright red being used here. Beautiful. And knocks him out. And so she can't. It looks like she can't see very well. So I hit somebody. Good thing I wasn't too powered up here. And so now we are, of course, at Xavier's school here. Looked at this pool, which is almost as big as the entire match. That's a ginormous pool. And so we're in the morning news. Kitty's real tired, and you can see she's so tired that she's not even hitting the milk inside the cereal here. And so we're talking school here. She says studying for a midterm plus research paper, a physics seminar, and a danger room session. So, and then she hears the morning news and sees that the costume, it's Katie Power, but of course her face is a little bit different, and realizes that's Mask style. And so she goes, "Oh, the Morlocks broke their word." And so we're at one of the hospitals, and the doctor says, she refuses to answer questions, and she's terrified. Never seen anyone so miserable, and I like that, or so ugly. And so Reed Richards is on the way, but Kitty has shown up here, and grabs her and phases her down here. Look at the cigarette there with Wolverine. And so we've got Rogue and then Rachel Summers, who is Phoenix. And Katie feels terrible. And Kitty says, "There's no need to cry. Everything's going to be just fine." And so she says she's Wolverine's scary. And Rachel says, "He sure is, but no one's better had to have on your side when there's trouble." And Rachel asks if it's okay for her to look through her mind. She says, no problem. And so she shares it with everyone, so we all get caught up to the story. And so Kitty says how angry she is, and they're going to go get the kids. And Wolverine says, "Alarms, looks like they've finally noticed. We got to get out of here." And so Katie's going to be in charge of this mission. And you can see they all hold hands and off they go. And so they are now at the Morlock tunnels. And so we get a little bit of exposition about stuff here growing up and things like that. A lot of Chris Claremontisms, but they're not really necessary to the story, just stuff that Chris Claremont likes to put in. So, I love this part here. Wolverine says, "Look alive, troops, the boss is back." And Kitty's like, "I wish you wouldn't call me that. It's embarrassing. Boss, I mean, really." And so she says she found something, and it turns out to be Power Pack's old room. So someone says, "You're there, XMen." And what are you doing in my children's room? "No more games, Annalie. No more lies. We've come for the Power Kids." And Wolverine says, "They're right in front of us, Cat. Masks may have changed their faces, but you can't disguise their unique sense, at least to my enhanced senses. These three match Katie, their family." "Of course there are. My family. I'm grateful to you for returning my wayward daughter to me. We've missed her so. Here, Katie, come to mother." And Katie's like, "Shut up, you're not my mother." And she uses her power. And they're under control of the kids. So now they're like, "Get them," says the kids. So Katie, she grabs Katie, and she goes, "I'll take her to mom," which is, of course, Annalie, is who she's referring to. And then we've got Wolverine here who grabs this kid, but, he doesn't really want to hurt him. But the kid's like, "You should have hesitated, mister." And he creates him lighter than air, but then he drops him. He drops like a rock here. And Rogue's fighting these guys here. And she's like, "Oh, man, this is too crowded." So she breaks this tunnel here to be able to get out. But then she's hit by Leech. And Leech will become more prevalent in X Factor when that kicks off in a couple of months as of the publication of X-Men, because X Factor I think begins in 201, but Leech will show up permanently I think after issue 10 of X Factor. So her power kind of knocks him out, but unfortunately he has taken her power, although she should have absorbed it, so now her power should be his power. And these guys, not so you to zap the runt skirt, "We'll finish the job permanent." And she's like, "He's one of your own. He was a pain. Nobody will weep for him. Besides, we're going to blame it on you," he says. So she's like, "Nobody frames me, sucker." And so, of course, she doesn't have her super strength now, but she certainly knows how to scrap. So... And Wolverine says, "Too many to play nice guy rules, Cat." And Kitty's like, "No claws, Wolvie. Morlocks and X-Men are friends." And Wolverine's like, "Tell them that." And so the two of them phase through the wall, and they get into the alley, and of course there are more Morlocks there. And that girl is like, "Help us, everyone, please. They want to steal us away from our mom, from Annalie. Is that true, X-Men? We look after our own, Outlander." And Wolverine says, "So do we. Better scoot after the kid, Shadowcat. I'll take care of business." And she's like, "Logan, this time, Kitty, there ain't no other way. I know. I still hate it. That's why you're right for the job, boss." And so she gives her a kiss in the cheek and says, "Good luck, Wolverine." And he snaps his claws. He says, "I'm not the one who's gonna need it." So you can see the snicked here. And so here the kids are saying, "We're gonna convert you into one of our own." The kid's like, "No." And she's like, "Don't you love us anymore, Katie? Don't you want to be with Jack and Alex and me?" She goes, "Yes, Julie, but not like this. Why is she so scared, Mommy? What those X-Men monsters do to her?" And she's like, "She isn't our mommy, Julie. You're not our mommy, Annalie. You're not. You're a mean, wicked, evil witch, and I hate you." And she's, of course, saying, "Katie, don't say those hurtful things. I love you." And she says, then let us go. Put us the way we were where we belong. And Mass is like, but ain't you learned, brat Morlocks, what you are? Here's what you stay. And so, of course, here comes Kitty and says, yo, Annalie, tell me, do you really think this is what your real children sounded like before they were murdered? I wondered, did they plead, beg, pray? What did their killer what their killer did out of hate, you claim to do for love, but the end result's the same, the destruction of innocent lives. Is that what you want, to be just like him? And of course she drops to her knees, no, and then no. And so Mass is like, ain't nobody dying here, ex-girlie, except maybe you. I'm finishing what I started, and then there ain't a thing you can do to stop me. And of course Callista shows up, and she says, I hope for your sake you have a real good explanation for this. And so later on you can see the kids are sort of back to normal, and you can see that they're working on them here. And so Callisto says, I want every memory restored, Dreamer. Every change you made put right, just as Mass did with their bodies, to the parents as well. Sunder, you'll handle returning the furniture. By sunrise, I want everything back of the way it was. Do you understand? And he's like, sure. So, and Callisto continues, and furthermore, since I evidently didn't make myself clear last time, I'll say it plain as it can be. These children are to be left in peace. They're friends, like the X-Men. They're off limits, says Callisto. I grieve your loss, Annalie. I loved your kids too, and I swear we'll bring the murderer to justice, but I won't allow this kind of raiding. It's our law, old woman. I don't want to face you in the ring, but defy me again, and I will. And the lady says, let's do it now, Cal, and get it over with. At least then I'll be at peace. I'll be with my babies. And the one of the kids here says, what do you mean, Annalie? How can you when they're... And then realizes that this is the Morlock way, Katie. Trial by combat. And Callisto continues, you're no fighter, Annalie. In your case, you be tantamount to a summary execution. And so she's like, my babies are dead, and what have I to live for? You're nothing like my youngest. She was very quiet. She'd sit and watch the world go with big dark eyes as if she understood the secrets of the universe. Her gift was as much like our healers. Just being with her made you feel wonderful, she says. And so toward the end, Chris Claremont kind of puts everything back in the bag here, and the kids embrace Annalie here. And so we end this here. Rachel gets a psychic alert from the mansion. Something's terrible wrong. A potential world-class catastrophe. We're needed immediate, but Kitty, it isn't Professor Xavier calling us. We're being summoned home by Magneto. I like to say Magneto, but... And so it says continued in Secret Wars 2 number 1, which we will not be covering the Secret Wars number 2. I have covered the first one, but I'm not doing the second one because it really isn't that good. So, and in X-Men 196, what was that? So, all right. Uncanny X-Men 195 by Chris Claremont and John Romita Jr. with Dan Green. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.